USDA Monday resumed its weekly release on crop progress across the country. The numbers weren't good for Nebraska or the nation's winter wheat crop. The top 18 producing winter wheat states saw their wheat rated only 34% good to excellent. At the same time last year, that number was 58%. Nearly half of Nebraska's crop, 49%, is rated as either poor or very poor. Kruger talked with us Tuesday about the wheat in his area of North Platte and how it compares to a strong crop that region saw a year ago.
I don't think it's any surprise we're dry again this year, just like we were last fall. The crop last year, winter wheat crop last year, looked really good for us. We had pretty good yields, despite the fact that the crop matured off several weeks earlier than our national average or our state average. But this year, I think it could be a really tough year. We just lack that precipitation or that soil moisture that we've had the previous few years.
And if I remember right, one of the things that helped you last year was the moisture you got at planting season, and that wasn't the case this year.
Yeah, so this year, even some fields and some farmers were reporting either very poor stands or almost no germination at all in some of their fields. So, I mean, it's pretty dry if we can't get the seed at least to put a little sprout up and overwinter. So.
Now, the wheat that UNL has growing out east, right on 84th Street, is greening up. Well, you'll see in some of the video, but out west, what does it look like where you are?
I think we're probably just a little bit behind. If you think about the layout of the state, we're a little higher elevation, a little cooler temperatures, and we're just not quite to that point that some of the wheat is here in the eastern part of the state, but we're probably not too far behind you guys there.
Is that a good thing?
I'm a little concerned about that.
I'm a little concerned. I think that's safe to say.
I think that's probably true for most of our growers as well. We've got a few rain showers, a few snowstorms that have put a little bit of moisture in that top 3-4 inches. There's just not a lot of soil moisture below that to really support a full growing crop. So if we could get a couple nice rains before that really starts to green up and take off, we'll be in much better shape.
If it would come out without that moisture, what happens?
Oh,
nothing good?
Yeah, probably not. The reality is that, I mean, we just don't have a lot of moisture there to support a full growing crop. It's not going to burn up in the middle of April, but it's certainly not going to support a high yielding crop if we start to take off and don't get any moisture to support it.
So is there a decision to be made now about what to do with it, or is that still a few weeks away and based off precipitation?
Well, Jeff, probably the reality is that we're looking at trying to encourage guys to sit and wait and see what happens. If we don't have enough moisture to support pushing a wheat crop through till July, we're probably not looking at enough moisture to go with any other type of crop. So at this point, sitting, as tough as it is for our growers, is probably the best decision.
Is there any option for the livestock producer to graze those fields off at some point, perhaps?
Yeah, and I think we'd want to wait at least a few weeks or a month yet before we start to do anything drastic there, but certainly that would be an option. If we're not going to have a huge wheat yield, then maybe we'll get more out of grazing some of that off.
Where are you in precipitation? I mean, obviously last year was not good, but from the first of the year, I mean, have you gotten anything this winter, at least in North Platte?
In North Platte, we're just a little behind average for the year. Keep in mind that January and February aren't our high rainfall months, but we are, even with the little bit that we've had, we are a little behind average there, but it's been better than the end of 2012 was.
As we close out here, weed control, because if this comes out and it looks like we might get a good crop out of it, what are the things to keep in mind for weed control?
Well, hopefully if it stays this dry we don't see the weeds either, but in terms of weed control, I think for wheat we're probably looking at the same as what we normally would in terms of weed control. Now's probably a good time to start thinking about that if there are some weeds coming through, putting down something with a little bit of residual to hold back any weeds that might germinate early in spring.